Hi guys, and welcome to episode 2 of Mental Improvement. Today I'm joined with Will Ogden. I'm going to basically interview him, have him talk about his experience with mental health, pass on some of the tips that helped him, some of the stories of how he got to the positions he got to, and then what's happened since. I'm not going to talk anymore again because this isn't about me. I'm going to basically move over to Will. So, Will, thanks for joining me.
No worries.
Basically, I guess the first thing is if you could give us a summary of your journey, like where it came from, like where it went to, and kind of where it is now, essentially.
Yeah, so I guess when was it? Probably like around about April 2012. I was sort of just started to see that I wasn't sort of myself. Friends and family around me sort of registered it as well, and then it was about the August, some family matters occurred, which is never a nice experience for anyone to go through. My family at the time, we lived out in Germany with the armed forces. So for me, I lived out there for 11 years. I didn't really live in England, so at that point, I'd only been back in England for just under a year. So I was still getting used to living in Southport again, because I'd been away since I was 7. So I'd just turned 19, so it was a massive lifetime difference there.
Yeah.
So for me, losing the outlet of Germany was a massive sort of blow, really, because I love Germany. All my friends were out there, I grew up there, all my family was there in terms of like mum, dad, brother and sister. And then I was scared to go to university. It's quite a daunting thing.
Yeah.
Everything's going on in your head. You're sort of worried that the debt's going to get on top of you. Are you going to be able to live? Are you going to actually succeed? Everything sort of got on top. And then just, your everyday personal issues that people have. And then that sort of led to me going to the doctors, and they just sort of said, oh yeah, you're showing signs of stress, anxiety and depression, and they just sort of said, we can put you on the CBT list, which is cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a mindset, well-being, personality coaching session that the NHS lead. Obviously there's some private sessions people can do. So I sort of just jumped on the waiting list and tried to deal with things as I could.
Okay. How long was the waiting list?
At that time, they told me it was 6 months.
Okay.
Obviously, that was about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And, apparently they are changing how the mental...
And was it 6 months before you got any treatment, or was it less or more?
Well, I was very fortunate because the university I went to, UCLan in Preston, they have their own sort of counselling services for students.
Okay.
So they put me onto them. So I've actually started, so it was in the August, and I started the counselling/CBT in the November.
Okay.
So it actually took me 3 months to get on, but that was only through the university helping me get to that. And which by that point the doctors put me onto antidepressants as well.
Okay.
Because they said between the August to November I hadn't made any improvements, so they put me on the antidepressants. Obviously they told me about the warning signs and that they can have benefits, they can make you worse type thing. It's kind of like a hit and miss. There's no guaranteed prescription for anyone.
Yeah.
Now whenever I've had people say to me they're going through an issue like that, with mental health, through my personal experience, the antidepressants made me worse.
Okay.
So I've always said to people, try and do sort of things conservatively before you rely on medication.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something for me in general. Doctors like to just mask the pain for people, whether it's giving them pain meds or it's giving them antidepressants to, mask the issue that's at hand.
Yeah.
Tablets can't always help you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was good that they actually pushed you down the CBT route first.
Yeah.
The alternative therapies route first, and then obviously while you're on that waiting list, I guess they wanted to give you something to manage it. So it's good that you, I think, found a doctor that didn't just go, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, at the time, I was quite fortunate because I had good friends at home in Southport, and then I made really good friends in Preston at university. So, I did have a good network of friends, a couple I could speak to. Obviously, you can't talk to everyone about everything. You've got to feel comfortable and feel like you're not going to be judged.
Yeah.
So, I did have quite a good, solid support network. But, even still, that was only really with friends I was, from work or from university. My best friends and, my lifelong friends, I didn't tell them probably until the Christmas. And bear in mind, I got told in August time something was wrong, so it took me a good probably 5 months to tell them and even my family that something wasn't right.
that period of receiving the diagnosis, obviously when you had that label of stress, anxiety, depression put on you, if you remember, did having that label said to you cause any reaction? Did you feel any different about that? Was it a relief to have a name for it, or was it, how did you feel?
I don't know, because prior to that, I've been brought up under sort of, British Army. My dad's a soldier, uncle's ex-Royal Marine, so I've been brought up under the armed forces. And for me, from a young age, when we moved out to Germany, I was probably 7, 8 years old, and literally as soon as we got there, my dad got deployed to Iraq. Right. So we just moved to Germany. My brother was about a year old, if that. My mum had just come out, didn't know anyone. We didn't have distant family, grandparents and uncles weren't as if you're in Southport now. You can't just expect, my mum lives in Churchtown. If I needed something here, she can't just drive 10 minutes. Yeah. It's a good length of travel to get to Germany. So I think my mentality had been fixated on that oh, I'm all right, there's nothing wrong with me, but that's just sort of, I guess, general men toughness. Yeah. Guys don't like to see themselves as weak. So, when the doctor said, "You've got this," I kind of looked at my friend who was with me at the time, and I just sort of giggled. But then I think it really played on my mind for a few weeks. I was sort of trying to digest it. I was like, have I got this? Yeah. And then, of course, you do, like everyone does, you go onto the internet, you're looking it up, you're looking at books, you're looking at stories about it, and you're like, oh, well, I've not got that, I've not got this. Somebody might have one symptom that you don't have. Yeah. But if anything, I guess it was a relief to have a diagnosis, so to speak, because you sort of knew where you were. Yeah. But in the long term, it kind of, I don't know, gave me sort of a mindset of tunnel vision. Right. I wouldn't take in anything else. I was just like, I've got stress, anxiety, depression. Nothing can be done. That's it. Yeah. No. It's not like when, I don't know, say if you've got completely different. If you've got diabetes, they give you diabetes treatment, and that sorts it. Yeah. Stress, anxiety, depression. It's not the same medication or same prescription for everyone. No. Everyone goes through things differently. Everyone has different problems, and everyone has different ways of dealing with things. Yeah.
I've always found, I find labels to be a really interesting subject, because for a lot of people, they get a label put on themselves and they go, right, well, I'm that label now, and therefore I have to be in that way. And it's interesting when you said about, oh, well, you look at the symptoms online and you go, well, I've not got that. That's kind of a slightly more positive way of looking at it. It's like, okay, you're looking for the evidence to disprove it. Yeah. But a lot of people, they'll go on and find the evidence to prove it. If kids are kind of diagnosed with autism spectrum, these days, it's like, as soon as that happens, the parents will be like, oh, my kid's got that, my kid's got that, my kid's got that. And
but it's too easy to tick a box and put people in it. Yeah. And that's what happens, really, to be honest. I work in sort of as a medical professional, so to speak, as a sports therapist, and I know through working in sports teams and doctors, especially on the NHS, so to speak, they have to put people into a category. They can't do everything that's got to go. If someone comes in with a knee issue, 9 times out of 10, they've got to go to the physio, who then go to the MRI. It's not, we can fix you. It's go, right, you're going down a flow chart, basically. Right. So if you're starting off here, you just go into a different box. Yeah. And I think if you've got the mentality in you and you're not right and you don't feel like yourself because you've got depression, I think it's very easy to just feel like you're getting tossed around between people, nobody wants to help you, and it's easy for you to go deeper into that hole. Yeah. So although that's the system and that's meant to help you, from my experience and through others that I've heard and read about and people's books and stuff, it can make people worse, because it's kind of like, well, I've gone to who I think should be able to help me, i.e. the medical professionals, and they're just throwing me down a flowchart. Yeah. There's no one helping me.
Yeah, it can almost feel a little bit like a foregone conclusion at that point as well. It's like, okay, I've got this. In my class a few weeks ago, one of the guys made such a great point. He was saying that when he kind of broke his arm, they said, you broke your arm, not you have broken arm syndrome or something along those lines. So it's like a broken arm's a very temporary thing. It's going to get better. Whereas a lot of labels with mental health, it's almost like you label for life, and that can be quite daunting to someone, I find. So if you're in the November, you've been put on you've got to the CBT, you've been put on the antidepressants. What happened next?
So I think it came up to Christmas. I had the CBT sessions. It was every 2 weeks on a Thursday morning. So, it was an hour session. It was, great. And it wasn't like homework, but, she was the person who first said to me, I want you to write down your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Which I never did. I was just like, I'm fine, you don't need to do that. So every week we sort of check in, and she'd be like, what's been bothering you? I had my little notepad, or it was on my phone, whichever. And I'd be like, this is what's been bothering me. And she'd always ask me, how have you approached that? So sort of between about mid-November up until Christmas, that's what I was doing. And then I think Christmas, obviously all the festivities and all my friends came home, my close friends and all my family together. It was really nice because I was with all my family, and I guess for that period of time I kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
Just because I was actually happy all the time. Then I'll always remember one night I went out with all my friends, and I'm not a massive drinker, but when I do go for it. But I remember this night especially, I probably really, really went for it, and I was just going from bar to bar. Friends couldn't keep up with me, and I ended up getting blind drunk, and it really, really. The next few days after that, I remember, like, even though I'd had a great few weeks with all my mates and family, I remember for a few days after that, everything just hit me. Like, I've been forgetting about it the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it just went, like, holy crap, this is all here still.
An emotional hangover.
Yeah, pretty much, honestly, yeah. It was like, for a few days, all I could think about was, like, how can I fix this? What can I do? And because I didn't have that outlet of the CBT, because university was closed, I felt like I was lost even more.
Right, okay.
So, even though I was writing things down, it got to like Thursday, and I went, I should be on a CBT now. And I didn't really know what to do, because I was just like, I've got this list of problems that's bothered me, or feelings and thought processes. And it was like, what do I do with them? So you just sort of leave them aside. And then I think in the mindset, because I got that upset and frustrated about it, I just forgot. I was like, I'm not writing things down anymore, it's not helping.
Yeah.
And that was simply because I had about 3 or 4 weeks away from uni.
Yeah.
Because of Christmas, and I didn't have access to the CBT.
So the list of things was kind of piling up.
Yeah.
You weren't clear in the decks.
I wasn't getting a solution.
Yeah.
It was just mounting up, the list was getting bigger, the pages were getting, more and more, and it was like, I've got no solution here, what's the point?
Yeah.
So I just threw that out the window. But then I remember I came back and I had my CBT session back. It was probably about, the 8th, 9th of January in 2014. And, they were like, oh, what's going on? And I completely shut off from it.
Yeah.
I was like, nothing. She was like, what's wrong? Or nothing. And my friend who was with me said, he's felt lost, he's felt this, that and the other. I've never seen him like this. I've known him for, I can't remember how long, but a long time. Like, I've never seen him like this. It's a completely different, utter person. And that person had been coming with me for like 3 months. And to hear them say that then, it's like, now you're telling me I'm not the same person, I'm completely different. For me, that was like a hole. I just thought, right, everyone knows me as this person, but now this depression's changed me.
Yeah. And
I'm not the same person. And then all my thoughts were, probably the next week is, are people going to still like me? Are people still going to like me for me if I ever get better? Is there any way out of this?
Yeah.
So for like the next week, obviously there's a week gap between my CBT. I just switched off. I didn't really talk to many people. I came back to Southport. I went to work. Just sort of coasted through the day. I can't really remember much else. It's just a blank.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I tried to think back on it, it just sort of coasted through. It's like sometimes, when you're driving, you just feel like you've got there. You don't know how, you just got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it happens loads of times when you're driving, because you're just so used to doing it. It's if I just went from A to B, and it's just happened. There's no sort of understanding of what's happened in the day. Has someone upset me? Has someone made me happy? Have I had a good day? Have I had a bad day?
Yeah.
And it was like, I couldn't comprehend that. And then the week later, I took the decision amongst myself, because it had been like the August through to the January, so that's 5 months. And I just thought, right, for me, I'm done with it. So my sort of plan then was, right, I'm just going to go. I went to 4 different shops, because obviously you're only allowed to buy 2 packets of paracetamol. So I went to 4 different shops around my university accommodation and got like the maximum allowed. And I remember just getting back to my uni hall, and it was about a 24-hour period, I was just taking tablet after tablet, just to sort of, I wanted it to end, and I thought, oh, you're allowed 8 a day, I'll take the whole pack, nothing. Or I'll take a few more, nothing. I just sort of carried on that process until the point where I was literally like dazed and borderline in and out of consciousness, not much coming out of me. And very, very fortunately for me, one of my friends off the course, they came round to do some study with me and just found me like borderline dead, really. That's how I'd put it. And thankfully, she rang 111. They were fantastic, got an ambulance out to me, and, I was taken to Royal Preston Hospital probably within about half an hour, 40 minutes. So that's what that got me to that stage. But then the real kick in the mouth was the antidote for a paracetamol overdose. I had an anaphylactic shock to, so allergic reaction. So the paracetamol overdose didn't almost kill me, the anaphylactic shock did. Because the parvorexes called for a paracetamol antidote, that almost killed me because it sent my body into shutdown. And then I blacked out, and the last thing I remember seeing, I got rushed into some ward where, like, critical, basically. They cut my shirt off, putting all these pads on me. I remember looking at a TV screen in front of me, and I'm just sweating, coming out in a rash. Didn't really know what was happening. And my heart rate came up, and it was 267.
What?
Yeah, 267.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
And then, out for about 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then I just woke up, and then the first thing I heard was my mum. So she got there, and then it was after that, loads of questions from the doctors. Why did you do it? And you're trying to tell them, and at the same time, you just want to say, do one, but just let me try and digest what's happening. But obviously, they've got the jobs to do. They need to know what's going on with you.
Yeah.
They want to know if they have to keep an eye on you and stuff in terms of the ward. So I mean, that was sort of the journey from being diagnosed to when shit hit the fan. Excuse my French, but when it did. So that was like 5 months of hell, really. Yeah.
So after that, did you get seen by like a crisis team or anything like that? Were you under were you under any particular care after the surgery?
So when it happened, I was kept on like the monitoring ward or whatever it is, might be an ICU or something, I can't remember. I had nurses checking in on me every hour, mainly because the antidote had to be given over a period of time. So they wanted to make sure I wasn't having another allergic reaction. I had doctors checking on me regularly. They gave it 24 hours for me to sort of recover properly because they put me on quite a lot of pain meds, and they gave me a lot of medicine basically to fix my liver.
Right.
Because my liver was showing signs that it could potentially fail.
Yeah.
Because of the paracetamol influx. And then I think it was that was the Tuesday evening. I think it was the Thursday morning the crisis team came to see me just to sort of talk to me, and my CBT therapist that came along as well because she obviously got wind.
Yeah.
And she was like, why has this happened? And the CBT therapist said he's been doing this, this and this. He felt like he was lost over the Christmas period, so I didn't really have anyone to turn to. And say it wasn't until all that happened that I really told my family, I'm not right in myself. I think the actual term I said is I'm not right in the head at the moment. But, when I look back on that term, it's not necessarily the right phrase to give it. Because it's not that I wasn't right in the head, it was just I had a kink in the road type thing.
Yeah.
I was still, when I look back on it now, and any time I speak to anyone, you're still the same person. You just sort of, hit a bump in the road. You've gone off track a little bit. You're still the same person. You just need that guidance to get back to that point.
Yeah.
But say after that, I kept on with the CBT for a few months, probably until about the April, until I felt comfortable to, go it alone type thing.
Yeah.
Immediately, I stopped the antidepressants. They told me not to, but I was like, no, they made me do this. I blamed it on the antidepressants. So I stopped it. I stopped the antidepressants, which you're not meant to do. You're meant to wean yourself off them, so don't take that advice off me. And yeah, I mean, my sort of mindset then is I did a lot of reading in terms of like mindset and motivation and how to keep yourself focused. I had several meetings with university lecturers. They all wanted me to quit the course, come back in September. I refused to. I stuck with it. I was like, I'm here. I'm just going to crack on. So I finished that year out, but a lot of the books I read, one of them in particular was Black Hole Focus by Isaiah Hankel.
Okay.
So it's about his sort of mindset and how he dealt with his depression during med school and stuff. So for me, I really was able to connect with that.
Okay.
And then reading other journal articles, there's loads of stuff out there about how the mind reacts and how the brain reacts during a depression or a depressive state rather. So I think for me, the key thing from that after was to set goals.
Right.
It wasn't just a case of I'm going to wake up and it's going to be gone. It's going to be a case of I've got to sort of coach myself to digest feelings and thoughts and figure out a way to sort of, cope with them.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the key things to that was recognising my triggers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've discussed the trigger prior, but trigger is basically something which sets you off.
Mm-hmm.
It could be absolutely anything. It could be like a song, it could be a person, it could be somewhere you go, it could be like anything that's like a memory could trigger something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you might go from the happiest person in the world to you want to hate everyone and fight everyone because that trigger has set you off that much.
Yeah.
So for me, I probably spent the rest of January, that was like mid-January when I tried to kill myself.
Mm-hmm.
So from like mid-January, probably till about mid-February, end of March, I sort of looked at it as like, what can I work towards?
Yeah.
Finishing my first year of uni was a major one, but then I didn't really have anything after that. So I phoned a friend up in Sydney. I was like, I'm coming over for your 21st, and I booked a flight to Sydney in July. So I was like, right, that's my big goal. If I can get to that, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
So then every day, anything I was doing, I always made sure I had a goal in sight, or every week.
And giving yourself something to live for.
Yeah, well, to give yourself
something to look forward to.
Yeah, well, give yourself something to live for, but it's also that motivational factor. I mean, I've always played sport and stuff, football, rugby, basketball, and then the gym after I stopped playing proper competitive sport. I've always enjoyed that sense of achievement and accomplishment, whether it's winning a match, scoring a goal, or if you're in the gym, getting a new PB, for example, or just getting the general satisfaction of lifting weights or running, whatever's your fix.
Yeah.
So I needed something to give me that extrinsic motivational factor.
Yeah.
So whether it was, I'm going to treat myself at the end of the month, I'll go away for the weekend with some friends or something like that, or I'll get myself them trainers I've always wanted, I've always doubted, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just having something to work towards, and I think that gives you a lot of peace of mind, because then if you do have a bad day, you have to sort of take a big breath and go, this isn't my big goal.
Yeah.
And you just got to think, that's my big goal, going to Sydney, go see my friend who I've not seen for 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And then go, right, this is only short term, this isn't going to make me, this is just going to structure me.
Yeah.
I didn't see it as something that was going to disable me, so to speak. I didn't see it as something that was going to hinder me for the rest of my life, which was my mindset pre-paracetamol overdose. I thought, this is going to be me for life.
Yeah.
Whereas after it, my mindset, I don't know what it was like a switch. I don't know if it was like the realisation that, I almost killed myself, or if it was the amount of people who all of a sudden poured in to give me the love and affection and care that I'd been dying for.
Mm-hmm.
There was only a couple of people around us who really understood, which is hard to try and tell someone who's not been through a depressive state what's going on in your head, because they don't understand it. I'm sure you can agree. You need to man up, stop being a girl, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine, you'll wake up tomorrow, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
That's all the stuff I got told. And at first, I might just wake up tomorrow and be okay, and you're not. You wake up, you still feel like crap. You're still wondering why are all these thoughts bothering you, why are all these feelings bothering you. So I think that was sort of the timeline, really, in a short script of how I really sort of kept myself focused and just cracked on with it.
Okay. Where are you now with it all?
I'd say obviously it's like 4 years since I did it. The last few months haven't been particularly great. My granddad passed away, so my head's just sort of been all over the last few weeks. But whenever I sort of feel like I'm going down a dark path again, I usually just think back to where I was and I look at where I am now.
Yeah.
So for me, in that 4-year time period, I've managed to set up my own clientele as a therapist. I've managed to actually finish my degree. I'm currently doing my master's degree as well. I managed to work at the club I support, Everton Football Club, for 2.5 years. So I look at all I've accomplished in the last 4 years, and I just think this dark path that I'm going down, or a bit of a bad time, is nothing in comparison to what I went through.
Yeah.
And that there are good things in line ahead. It's just whether you can see the finish line and get past it.
Yeah.
And that finish line isn't a case of I'm going to get over this hurdle, because I think there's always a hurdle. Whether it's a mental health one or something else, there's always something stopping you, and everyone goes through something personally that, you know, puts sort of a mental block on them. Whether they'll admit it or get help is a different thing. But I think everyone does go through a state of minor depression at some point in their life.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of what the circumstances is, I think everyone does.
Yeah, I agree. Like, a thing that I say a lot is that we all have physical health, we all have mental health.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there are massive differences on that scale. There's, you know, like in physical health, you've got your common cold or a tummy bug, and then you've got, you know, things like cancer or autoimmune diseases. And then obviously with mental health, you know, depression is such
it's a broad term.
Very broad term, yeah. Like, a depression for me can be anything from a mild funk to stop the world, I want to get off.
Yeah.
It can be anything from, I feel a bit down, to the whole doom and gloom idea of I am always like this is my.
I think the thing is though is that there's too much the stigma around it. Like, too many people, they've either got an experience of it, whether it's personal or someone around them, and they know what to do, or you get the people of, they're mental.
Yeah.
They've got a mental health issue. It's like, no, they're not mental. They're just having a bad time.
Yeah.
Badly. That's the only way to put it. I mean, there's having a bad day, yes, but then there's having bad days every day because you're in a depressive state.
Yes.
And too many people jump to conclusions. And, you know, that, if anything, is more damaging to someone who's going through a depressive state. You know, if you say to them, you're mental, that just puts another thing in their head to think about, like, am I mental? Is there something wrong with me? It just adds to the, you know, the chain that's like all the problems that's going on in their head.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't got the thoughts and feelings and, you know, them thinking that everyone's judging them. And then for someone to go, you're mental, you're not right in the head, it just makes it worse for them.
Yeah. I mean, I think I picked up on something that you said earlier when you said, well, even during that sort of dark period where you said you were writing your thoughts down and stuff, the questions you were asking yourself were still quite positive in the fact that you were saying, how can I fix this? And you weren't coming back with the answers because you didn't feel equipped from the CBT that you had at the time, but you were like, what can I do about this? How can I fix this? And I think so many people say when they get labelled as mental or whatever it may be, their question becomes, what's wrong with me? And that immediately assumes that something is wrong with them. Whereas if you're looking at things like, how can I fix this? How could this be better? What can I do today that, like you now, when you focus on your goal, it's like, right, this isn't taking me towards that goal. Yeah. What can I do to take me back to that goal? It's like, effective questioning can be a really good way of...
Yeah, well, I mean, I still do it now. I mean, it's something because after I, you know, got through the recovery process, so to speak, I was able to see how that helped me. You know, I was able to cross off stuff that didn't bother me, stuff that I had to be concerned about, and stuff that wasn't a major worry. Consider it like a workload list. You know, if you're working and you've got a target due on Friday, but you've got a target due next Friday, the one that's this week is going to take priority, isn't it? The other one you can sort of lead towards the end of the week. It's probably like managing your workload in the same respect. You know, you write down all your thoughts and feelings, anything that bothers you. Usually what I do is, and I still do, is I write them down on my phone. I put my phone into airplane mode, put them all in my notes, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, still in airplane mode. I've not got messages to bother me. I unlock my phone and it's there, and I look at it and I just go through them all. And it's like, I ask myself, why have I wrote that down? So what's caused me to think that? How can I approach that? Do I genuinely need to worry about it? If so, what can I do? If not, get rid of it. Why is it bothering you? And then I think as well, like, when you're just trying to digest everything in your head internally, it's hard to find an answer because you'll have one thought go around and then something else kick off and you've not found a solution for that first thought. And then, I don't know, you'll have hundreds of thoughts going around at any one time and it could be anything. But I think when you've got it visually written down or on your phone in front of you, you can actually go, why am I thinking about that? And why is this getting me upset? You know, you might in the end go, I am being an idiot there. And you said that to yourself. It's not someone telling you that. You admitted, I'm being an idiot, I don't need to think about that. Or you're going, holy crap, I need to fix that, how do I do this? And then you figure out a way. So I think writing things down is key.
Do you find that sometimes in the morning you literally just go, well, it's not bothering me anymore, and a few things, and you can just take them straight off the list? That's amazing.
Usually, I mean, I haven't done it this week yet because I've had a relatively okay week, but like last week, I think it was on Wednesday, I had about 10 things that had probably bothered me, 10, maybe 12. And I think it was only about 4 of them that I actually needed to do anything with.
That's all.
The rest were just like, I'm just being silly, really.
But see, I've not come across that method before, but there's a few things I can see that's happening there. One, I call it, the first part of it, I call it a brain dump. So like, if you're there, can't sleep, you've got loads of thoughts going around your head, the thoughts aren't what's keeping you awake. Worrying about forgetting them is what's keeping you awake. So you write them down, and you know that they're there, and you can deal with them in the morning. So like, you've done that part of it. But to me, the second you say like, oh, and then I look at them in the morning and they're gone, doing that over and over again, you're going to actually get into a habit of at that night time, actually almost knowing that some of them are going to be gone in the morning. And instead of one of the big thoughts of like, oh, tomorrow's going to be the same, or tomorrow's going to be worse, or whatever someone might go down when they're in that downward spiral, you're almost programming yourself to say tomorrow's going to be better.
Yeah, in some respects, I see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't try to see any day is going to be, if I've had a bad day tomorrow, I'm not going to go to sleep knowing tomorrow's going to be worse.
Mm-hmm.
I just wake up and see how it goes. Any day can become great immediately or bad immediately. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
I just try to go into each day with a positive mindset and see what happens.
Yeah.
I think like one thing that I it's like a little saying I came up with when I went through everything was, forget negativity, pursue positivity, and create opportunity.
Mm.
So I try to forget anything negative that's bothering me or anyone negative. If they're not going to help me, you're going to hinder me. See you later.
Yeah.
If that comment isn't going to help me, don't worry about it. Look for anything that's positive. A well done, or I've done better today.
Yeah.
I've had a better day, or oh God, I've earned more money this week. Anything like that, anything positive will lead to an opportunity.
Yeah.
Regardless of how small it might be. I've earned more money. I can get this now. I've got more money to spend. Fair enough, go ahead, do it. That's your opportunity. You can get something you want. You can get whatever you want to buy, or if you're saving long term, maybe towards a house, you've got to work more. That's the positive, earning the money to get the opportunity of owning your own home.
Yeah.
So everything has an end goal, like you were saying earlier. It's not just a case of this is today and tomorrow. It's this is a few years' time. So that's how I try to look at it. I don't try to think that if I have a bad moment this evening, for example, that's not going to affect me for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
I know that's probably just going to annoy me for an hour, and then I'll forget about it. I'll have my event, I'll have my rant, I'll go off, calm down for 5 minutes, and I'll be fine. But it's not going to hinder me for however long. I'll just forget about it, unless it is something that is generally bad.
Yeah.
And you're trying to get your head around it for a few days.
Do you find that your experience helps you to be better equipped to help other people that have maybe you're easier to talk to maybe than, or you've got relatable things there when other people come to you?
I think one thing that changed with me, and it was the only change that changed with me, was my mental and emotional strength.
Right.
Whereas prior to everything, I didn't talk about my feelings. I shut off. I didn't really cry much. It wasn't the manly thing to do. And I think my mindset after is, I will cry quite easily now. It doesn't bother me. Don't care.
You nearly had me going a bit ago.
I'll cry easily. It doesn't bother me whether it's out of laughter or if I'm genuinely upset.
Yeah.
I'll quite openly talk to people like I'm here today. If someone asks me in the street, I'll quite openly go and tell them it doesn't bother me. I don't see it as a problem. I see it as the fact that it motivates people. Because if I'm telling, for example, if you had no experience of mental health yourself and you had no idea and you've just been told you've got depression, and that person heard about me and they just said, oh, what did you do? And I tell them what I'm happening. That might motivate them.
Yeah.
I don't know what it'll do,
but
it might motivate them. So for me to be able to speak out freely, I think it's not selfish. It's more you're trying to help as best you can, because it's, in the world we are in now, there's so much pressure on people to do well in terms of, whether they're doing well business or academically or they're a social media guru. And, social media plays a massive factor for everyone now, which is how me and you got connected through a post on World Mental Health Day last week. I'll quite happily put posts up on social media about mental health. It doesn't bother me. I'll probably only get about 200 views, but it's 200 people that have seen that, and I could potentially make a difference to 200 people. And for me, I'll take that. It doesn't bother me.
I mean, I'll take it if one person responds, and is pushed by like a lot of. I had a few people last year with in the last sort of 12 months that have been like, you're talking more about mental health than physical health. I thought you were PT or whatever along those lines, and I've just been like, well, it's more important to me. And it's like, everybody can figure out how to do a push-up. Not everyone can figure out how to push their mind back up. But yeah, I mean, I think when you said about being successful, a lot of it with social media, it's being perceived as successful. It's not even actually being successful, is it? A lot of people.
I mean, it's easy for people to make themselves seem successful, especially with social media.
Yeah, you should play the highlight reel.
I drive a Suzuki Swift. I could easily probably walk around hillside of Birkdale, stand in front of a Bentley going, new car.
Yeah.
And thousands of people on social media will go, oh, he's doing well for himself, he's got a Bentley.
Yeah.
I haven't, I've just took a photo in front of the car.
Yeah.
But it's so easy for people to, get that perception of themselves.
Yeah.
And, I think it probably gives people who do that a lot of satisfaction to see people going, oh, you're doing so well. It's probably, that's probably their way of going, yeah, I'm doing okay. But again, social media, as it pluses, as it cons.
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely and utterly a double-edged sword. Like, it does as much good as it does bad, unfortunately. Are there any things? You've got the journaling, writing your problems down. Obviously, increasing your emotional repertoire, so being okay. Is there any other tips like from your own recovery process that, or what was it you referred to before? It's not a recovery, it's a
reinvention.
Right. Okay.
So it's kind of like, imagine. I had my car MOT yesterday.
Yeah.
Still the same car, it's just had a new part put on it.
Yeah.
So I don't see my mental health issue that I have with stress, anxiety, depression. I don't see that as it giving me two paths. I don't see it as being, if I go left, I'm going to be a completely different person. If I go right, I'm still going to be the same person. The other path, that path doesn't exist. You're always going to be the same person. The only thing that changes is how you get there.
Okay.
So, for example, 4 years ago, I was in a state of depression. I wasn't in the best place ever. But I look back on that, I'm still the same person. I'm still lively. I'm still funny. I still make people laugh. I'm boisterous. I don't really care what people think about me. But the only thing is, I will sympathise with people more. I will openly talk about my feelings. And it doesn't bother me to cry. Yeah. And my two best friends, they say that, like, my auntie asked my cousin, who's the most emotional out of you? And they both went, me. Because I'll quite happily cry and tell them stuff that's bothering me. I'll happily go around and cry. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. I don't see it as a weakness. I see it as my strength.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the key things for me to say to people or anyone that's going through it is don't let that be who you are tomorrow.
Yeah. Because
you can wake up tomorrow and still be in a state of depression, but you can have a bit more of a positive insight to where you're going and what you're going to be in however long time. For me, I made, in respect, a relatively quick recovery. I got diagnosed in the August. I was probably all right by about the July the next year. So, that was 11 months, but I hear of people who've had depression for 4 or 6 years, or if not longer, or people who are always in a depressive state.
21.
But I think at the same time, there's a turning point in anyone where they know what works for them.
Yeah.
They have that relief. Now, whether they know they have a state of depression or stress anxiety is a different thing. We were talking just before this, people who drink excessively, they do that to get the end result of forgetting. They might want to forget about a bad day, they'll have a drink, or someone's stressed out or angry, so they'll have a cigarette.
Yeah.
My sort of release now is to write things down, or I'll go do exercise. I'll go to the gym, I'll go for a run, I'll go out for a walk, or sometimes if I can't be bothered going to the gym, I'll just go on the game. I'll go on the PlayStation and I switch off. It might only be for half an hour, but I'll switch off and that gives me the satisfaction and release that I need. But I'm not saying to people go and have a drink, go and have a cig, because it's not the best thing to do. But whatever works for you, works for you. Yeah,
and I think what we were talking before is like a lot of these things are all trying to get you to the same end result. Yeah. So it's choosing the one that is better for you, serves you better. Like, I for a long time stopped playing games because I thought they just distracted me from the more important things in life. And
just wind you up as well.
Well, yeah, and then I bought Destiny 2 like 2.5 weeks ago, and it was like, right, that's it. I'm never getting any work done ever again. And I've actually got more work done in the 2 weeks because I'm having that sort of half an hour, whatever it may be.
Where you switch off.
And I feel kind of a little bit more recharged.
Well, it's bizarre. Like for me, when I'm doing university work now, like for the first 2 years of uni, I couldn't figure out a way to properly focus. So I'm very short term. Like I have to do something for about an hour, then I have to break for a bit. So my new way of doing things now, and if you ever see me in Costa, I'll have my work up on one side, then I'll have Netflix up as well. And I won't be watching it, I'll just like be listening to it. I know what's going on in the TV program.
Yeah.
But then if I do need to break, I'll save my work and I'll just watch Netflix for a few minutes. Might only be 5 minutes, but I just need that distraction.
All right.
So it works for me.
I was going to say, I can't imagine that working for me because if I'm listening to music when I'm working, I have to listen to instrumental music. Anything that's got because I for my work, I'm like, writing a blog or whatever, or typing. If there's words in what's going on, those words somehow end up in what I'm writing. So I listen to a lot of instrumental music, but I actually found trying loads of different styles of instrumental music out. I can't actually work, write, study, read, do anything while jazz music's on. It's like my brain tries to decipher what's going on with that music. And
well, I mean, it doesn't work for anyone. In third year, when I finally found out what works for me, the lads used to laugh about it. Because I'd have my laptop on and I'd have my iPad inside, it's got Netflix on, or I'll have YouTube on with some video.
Yeah.
Or I'll have the TV on, and they're like, "Are you doing work?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've done all this, completed the essay." They're like, "How the hell many money is that?" Because I can just zone in. I'd sit there for about 9 hours, and I'd just, pretty much write the whole essay.
Yeah.
And it works. Everyone has their own ways of dealing with things again.
Yeah. Awesome. I mean, well, that's kind of the whole point about what I'm putting this show together for is two things, which is one is hopefully parts of your journey, parts of your reinvention will resonate with some other blokes out there, or women. We're primarily aimed at blokes, but obviously a lot of what we go through, women can also benefit from as well. And the second one being to get more blokes to actually open up and help us break the stigma of men talking about mental health. So one final question, what would be your advice? What would you say to a bloke out there who's basically keeping that stiff upper lip, not saying anything?
I'd say if it was just your average guy who, like you said, stiff upper lip, I wouldn't see it as anything that's going to sort of affect you for the rest of your life. I'd see it as something that's short term and if anything, is going to make you an even well-rounded person. Like for me, my mental and emotional strength is 10 times better than it ever was, and it's still getting stronger day by day because I'm still doing the stuff I did when I was going through the depression, such as writing stuff down. So I think for someone who hasn't got a diagnosis but thinks in their head that they've got something wrong, the easiest thing you can do is go and talk to someone. Now, if they're married or they've got a girlfriend or it's the pet parents or whatever, maybe not speak to them if you're worried about them judging you because, you're the guy, you're the one who's got to protect them, provide whatever, the old stigma.
Yeah.
I'd say go speak to someone who doesn't know you. Go see a counsellor, go see a doctor. Just go and vent to someone anywhere else or write things down like I said.
Yeah.
Just speak to someone who you feel can't judge you. I think that's one of the key things. For me, when I went to CBT, because I didn't know the lady, she had no sort of rights to judge me.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was to talk to someone who I knew from college, they know a bit about me, they know who I am, I would feel like they would judge me further after that. They'd be like, "Oh, that's why he's like that." I'm a bit mental, I won't lie about that, but they might think, "Oh, he's mental because of his depression." Like mental as in hyperactive and boisterous. So I'd probably say to them, your first stage is to try and find someone to sort of talk to. Whether it's a family member or someone you don't know, just talk to them. Even, the helplines out there. There's loads of them. I've never used them personally, but I know people who have used them. I think a lot of them are open 24 hours. I couldn't name them, but I know a few of them are.
Got the Samaritans. I think Liverpool still got Calm campaign against living miserably. I think that's aimed at men between 18 and 30.
But I think to find someone to talk to, definitely try and get yourself some goal setting. Have something to work towards. If say for example, if work's stressing you out and you're not enjoying your job, how can you make work better? Can you get a new job? Can you retrain yourself? Can you get a promotion? Something like that. Try and look at the bigger picture. Don't sort of get a tunnel vision focus, which is very easy to do. You can just listen to yourself, what you've seen, what you've read, and block off everyone and anyone's faults. You need to sort of broaden, your vision or your thinking really, and try to think long term as opposed to short term. But again, it can be very hard to try and do that because if you've not dealt with it before, you can think, "Oh, I'm going to be like this for a long time," but it's not. It can be a long time in some cases. It can be a very, very short time in others. It just depends on how you deal with it and how quickly you want to get yourself sorted, type thing. And it's not to say there's something wrong with you. It's to say you just need a little bit of guidance to reinvent yourself again. That's probably my sort of take-home messages, really.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you very much for chatting today.
No worries, Dave.
Right, thanks guys for watching, for listening. That was just, I don't know, I kind of got taken away a little bit by that one, so I hope you guys got something out of that too. The big call, as always at the end of this, is if you are a bloke who wants to talk more, then reach out through the comments or through direct message, whatever it is. And if you want to actually be the next sort of link in this chain to help more men open up about it, you've got a journey that you want to share yourself, get in touch. We'll see about helping more men to open up over time and hopefully together break this stigma. So thanks again for watching. Please, as always, like, comment, share, pass it on to a bloke who needs to see it or a woman that needs to see it, and let's help make mental health better.